Good morning and welcome to the reflection for Monday the 12th of February. A few weeks ago I was feeling overdue for a bike ride as the weather had been persistently wet and windy. Then at last there was a day with a decent forecast, so now was the time. The promise was for light winds and mainly sunny but cold, so I was all set to go first thing. However, the day dawned with thick mist and I waited impatiently for it to clear. By late morning it was still as dense as ever, so given the short hours of daylight, I decided to set off anyway. The first few miles of my planned route were along the towpath of the Union Canal, the air very damp and the visibility very poor. Then I left the canal and headed south, climbing steadily for 2 miles or so. Was it my imagination, or was it beginning to get a little brighter? Then suddenly there could be no doubt. There was a bright spot in the sky ahead of me, and within 100 yards I broke out into full sunshine. Another half a mile and I reached the top of the ridge and swung west to follow it along narrow lanes and farm tracks for the next 10 miles. What an amazing experience! The sun was clear and bright, the air still, and the hoarfrost thick on the hedges and vegetation. At one point I rode under a fine avenue of trees with tiny icicles falling all around me, tinkling as they fell. Meanwhile, in the valleys to either side, the mist still lay thick and white in the glare of the sun. It was as if I inhabited a world separate from the rest of humanity. However, sadly, that ridge does not go on forever. Presently I had to descend, skirting the business parks of Cumbernauld and eventually accessing the Forth Clyde Canal, which links to the Union at the impressive and famous Falkirk Wheel. But, you guessed it, before I reached the towpath I was once again enveloped in the cold, clammy mist, which then persisted for the rest of my level homeward route. Reaching home about 3 hours after leaving, I was not surprised to learn that the fog had never cleared all day, but what a memorable ride I'd had. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this, but here is something that many of us keep having to relearn. Often we can't see clearly our way through life, but we have to live it anyway. And on those occasions when things work out well, we want it to go on like that forever. We talk about mountaintop experiences, times when, like Peter on the Mount of Transfiguration, we try to hold on to the moment. But, as the old hymn says, "No, saith the Lord, the hour is past, we go. Our home, our life, our duties lie below." Yet the memory of the mountaintop remains, not as nostalgia, a longing to repeat a past time, but as an inspiration for the future, an assurance that we will see clearly again. And while Christians are apt to write and read books and sing songs about memories of past times and hopes for future times when the mists are clear, the real value of these moments is to equip us to persevere through the mist when it descends again, as it surely will. Put another way, as someone has said, don't forget in the darkness what you learned in the light. So I don't know how your cycle ride through life is going at the moment, whether you're on a rough track or a smooth road, whether you're in clear sunshine or dense fog, on a steep climb or a downhill freewheel. What I do know is that you have a travelling companion always with you, recognized or not. He knows the way, he's travelled it himself. I don't think the psalmist rode a bike, but he certainly experienced God's presence with him in difficult times. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. So begins Psalm 46, and there is plenty of honest lament and hard-won faith to be found throughout the Psalms. Both the clinging cold mist and the beautiful sunshine of my ride are all reflected in there, and a recognition that just because the sun has broken through does not mean that the cloud and the fog will not return. You can find a psalm for every way you feel, from the despair of Psalm 88 to the anger of Psalm 109 to the elation of most of Psalm 139. Why not write your own psalm today? Tell it to God like it is. Instead of me saying a prayer now, make that psalm your prayer. You'll be blessed and strengthened even as you do it. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. God bless.